Harriet Sanford.
You have demonstrated an unwavering dedication to public education reform, the arts, and the strengthening of communities. Your visionary leadership and ongoing work to help prepare each of America's children to thrive in a rapidly changing world serves as a particularly remarkable example to our faculty and students. Serving as President and Chief Executive Officer of the NEA Foundation based in Washington, D.C., you have led the work of the Foundation since 2005. The NEA Foundation remains committed to supporting the collaborative efforts of public school educators, their unions, school districts, and communities to focus on learning conditions that improve student performance. An alumna of UConn, you earned a master's degree in public administration from the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences in 1979. You began your career as a public school classroom teacher, which led to a senior executive career spanning nearly 30 years, including 24 years spent directing such nonprofit public organizations as the Arts and Science Council in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the Fulton County Arts Council in Georgia. You have written extensively on issues of reform, imparting your wisdom to educators, administrators, academics, parents, and the public. You continue to stand out as a trailblazer in public education reform. Devoted to the betterment of society through access to quality education, cultural competency, and the arts. Meanwhile, in directing the course for many organizations that serve the public good, you continually exemplify the level of leadership and world citizenship we aspire to instill in our graduates. You have also served as the architect behind an innovative partnership that we are bridging divides between constellations of educational organizations. Here in Connecticut, you stepped forward as one of the early supporters and advocates for the Neag School of Education's Compact Schools program, supporting our vision for a partnership with urban communities and school systems, ultimately leading to reform initiatives in Hartford, Bridgeport, and numerous other urban communities across the state of Connecticut. The trajectory of your career, as well as your dedication to public service and devotion to enhancing arts education and cultural understanding, are laudable models for UConn students who endeavor to advance in their fields and make significant contributions to society. For all you have done, the University of Connecticut today offers its sincere gratitude for your tireless efforts. Harriet Sanford, for your role as distinctive leader, education advocate, and global citizen, it is our honor to bestow upon you today, the 10th day of May, 2015, the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, Honoris Causa. By the virtue of the authority vested in me by the trustees of the University of Connecticut, and in accordance with the procedures and regulations of the university, it is my special pleasure to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters with all the appropriate rights, responsibilities, and distinctions pertaining thereto.
It almost leaves you speechless. I think I actually graduated in this very same space in 1979, and I never imagined I'd be here for this purpose. I am humbled and honored, proud Husky girl. So thank you all, parents, faculty, families, and soon-to-be graduates. It's my honor to be here at the University of Connecticut. And I have to give a shout out to the moms. I'm a mom, and so go moms. I received my Master's of Public Administration from UConn many years ago, but what few people know is that I was also on the undefeated women's basketball team, the club team, that is. And I was known as the defense queen, as I only shot the ball once over 2 seasons, but stole the ball a good deal and then passed it along as quickly as possible. So UConn holds many positive memories beyond the academic experience. But UConn and I have both come a long way since the late 70s. I'm no longer afraid to shoot, the ball, and UConn's academic ranking is at its all-time high. And the basketball teams, well, what can I say? They're the best in the country, making UConn an ideal place to learn no matter your course of study. So it's a pleasure to return today to talk to you about something really dear to my heart, something that has driven me for most of my working life, and that is teaching. And while I realize a number of you are not education majors, much of what I have to say should resonate with you because where education goes, this country goes. Teaching matters. You hear that a lot, but it's true. It matters, and so do the children we teach, every single child. For many in the audience today, you've put in time, the hard work, and at times, I'm sure, a little bit of tears as you've worked on this. But if you do not believe in the immense learning power of each and every student, no matter what the circumstances, neither you nor their students will be successful. Finding and nurturing that power is what teaching is all about, and it can help you rejuvenate your commitment to teaching at every phase of your career. New research on brain science uses words such as mindset, grit, resilience to drive home the idea that attitudes matter, and that given the lowest performing students, they can even turn the page and succeed. These words are all important, but I'd like to offer another word, belief. As a teacher, you must believe in yourself, in the power of education to change lives, and in what your students can do. I'm standing before you as the daughter of a barely educated son of a sharecropper who married a poor Irish woman from a family steeped in a stubborn intolerance of anyone with brown skin. During an era when both were told they could not marry each other, my parents were not to be stopped by unfair laws or norms, so they chose their own way forward. They wed in 1952. In my family, the idea of being in control of your own destiny was not a topic for debate. It was a belief. My father had faced daunting challenges: the Indiana Ku Klux Klan in his youth, racial bias in the military, and at times, illegal treatment at the hands of others. It was not lost on me that if my own father had succeeded and created a thriving family despite such challenges, whatever challenges I faced would be small in comparison. In short, belief was a value my father lived, and so did his children. That belief propelled me through school, from my underfunded elementary school, through high school, and onto my forward-thinking college, where lived experiences were valued as much as any lecture. Everywhere I went, I knew I had to do two things: give my best effort and believe in myself. And for the most part, the rest would take care of itself. But then I began teaching, and I quickly realized that not every child was so lucky. In many ways, the disparities have only gotten worse over time. Our tax structure gives students in certain zip codes more opportunities than others, more resources, better paid teachers, and more opportunities that spark lifelong learning. The lack of these things makes the journey for those children harder, but no less important. But the difference isn't all about funding and opportunity inequities. For some, it is so often purely one thing: belief. I recently read a book by the New York Times columnist Charles Blow, and I had to fight back tears as he described his education and the one moment when a teacher recognizes his ability. Charles writes about how his own belief and vision of himself was utterly changed when one teacher made a chance for Mark and recognized him as a young scholar worthy of attention. He wrote, "It was the first time that I felt a teacher cared about me, truly saw me, and believed in me. I felt life stir in me. I'd always known that I was smart, but when the teacher at Ringgold had treated me like I wasn't, I lived down to their low expectations." After that day, Charles said he never got another bad grade, and more importantly, the trajectory of his life changed, all because someone believed in him. You see, belief is the most important gift you can give all of your students. And those we empower to teach, who like you have gained our trust, have a clear responsibility to be aware of each of our own implicit biases, which do not leave us We must constantly examine ourselves to be sure that our beliefs, ingrained in us through a lifetime of experiences, do not in any way interfere with our ability to believe in others. We're all here as educators because we know that every child is capable of learning and succeeding on some level. But when we quietly celebrate when children of color get over the cusp and score proficient on a standardized test, but do not excel, we're letting those students down. Persistent achievement gaps in K through 12, followed by high remediation rates in college, particularly for first-time and minority students, speak volumes about the irreparable damage done by low expectations. Every teacher is a leader responsible for setting the norms and standards in their classroom. We must be bold and catch ourselves when we fall short, and also speak out about the issues of race and poverty in and out of school. We must do whatever is necessary to help our students succeed, to eliminate any deficiency they face, and to show our students that they matter. The path to equal opportunity for all is an important chapter in our history as a nation that remains unfinished, and I'm asking you to help write it, all of you, no matter what career path you have chosen. I've said to you that teaching matters, and so do teachers. This is a time of great change in America's schools and classrooms. In your studies and your clinical experiences, you've undoubtedly gotten a taste of the rapidly changing state of the education system. Over time, you'll see the efforts to improve education, like history, move like a pendulum. If you stay in the classroom long enough, there's a good chance that the things we're spending most of our time on now will be replaced by other priorities. And if you stay in the classroom a really long time, you'll see those priorities shift back again. I've seen the pendulum swing a few times in my life. In the 60s, we saw a push for greater equity and relevance in learning. In the 70s, we saw the Back to Basics movement, trying to address the problem that Johnny can't read. In the 80s, A Nation at Risk forced states to raise standards and improve every aspect of education, ensuring that students were gaining solid core knowledge in key subjects. Later, that effort morphed into the standards movement that brought with it more testing and accountability. But it forgot one important thing, the importance of teaching. Today, we're trying to ensure that students have greater knowledge that is relevant and meaningful to them and can be used in any context. This is promising and is up to teachers to make sure that it happens. Unlike what has happened all too often over the past decades, teachers must shape and not be shaped by these efforts. What you do in your classrooms will make all the difference, and you should not shy away from being bold and outspoken. Know that your voice is important. Know that it is vital for real change, and know that at times you may have to raise it to make sure you're heard. Approach your teaching with the same mindset you have instilled in your students, with a critical eye towards problem solving, a collaborative partnership, and with a focus on bigger issues in the community. Yes, teaching matters, but community matters too. As we talk about change, I'm happy to confirm that the era of teachers working alone in classrooms with the door shut, it's over. As you begin your career as an educator, you'll have more opportunities to learn from and be supported by your peers than any other time in history. Before you know it, you'll be immersed in more faculty meetings, team meetings, data meetings, working groups, professional learning communities, and cohorts everywhere. All these meetings could be daunting, and at times they may feel like a diversion from what you're doing in the classroom, but I can assure you they're not. In the past, too many teachers felt isolated, completely alone with the enormous task of learning to teach. The classroom door is now open. And to be successful, you also need to be open to your peers, your students, and also the larger community in which you teach. Today, too much of the talk of educational reform, of reshaping our schools and teaching and learning, we've ignored the outside. As a teacher, you do so at your own peril. You're also missing an enormous opportunity to grow, receive support, and feel connected to the children and communities you serve, and for them to feel connected to you. When I was a teacher, it helped that many of us lived in the same communities we taught. We also shopped at the same grocery stores, gravitated to the same parks, and volunteered for programs that matter to all. I was emotionally and spiritually connected. It felt right. I hope you'll follow that path. And now you're about to write your first chapter, and I don't want to stand in your way. But as I bring my comments to a close, I want to share the thoughts of a number of seasoned educators across the nation who I've worked with in recent years. Some are friends, some have won awards, but all have dedicated their lives to their students. And I asked them what advice they would give people entering the field. Much of what they have to say applies across many sectors, and here's what they offered. One wrote, "It's not what we know, it's what we're willing to learn that makes great teachers." Another said, "Make the custodian your friend, and if you're an elementary teacher, no glitter, ever." One said, "Keep a bad day file. Put every note, hand-drawn picture, good observation, class photo, fun photo in there, and then read it on those days when you wonder why." One began by saying, "Smile," and the advice just kept coming. Your students have a life outside of the classroom. Welcome it in. In my 24 years of teaching, I have found that what parents really want is to hear how much you value and like their children. See the world. Many of your students will only see the world through your eyes. Your students will remember your heart more than irrelevant information in a textbook. Love them, every one of them, unconditionally. Kids won't remember that you taught them about factoring polynomials, spelling, or how to conjugate verbs. They will remember how you made them feel. And I'll leave you with the comment of a trusted friend, and she said this: If I can tell new teachers one thing, it would be this: be fierce. The profession might not immediately strike you as one that requires ferocity, but it does. It takes fierce to battle your own self-doubt when you're the only one who seems to know that good enough is just not good enough for your students. Excellence is what you're after, and you're not going to let anyone or anything stand between your students and excellence. Bring fierce to the table every time. You're going to need it. Be gentle, kind, caring with your students, but be fierce about their education. As you write your own chapter, you're becoming a part of a bigger story, the story of our communities, our children's lives, our futures. You've had a great education and preparation for great careers. Believe in yourself. Believe in your students and believe in the people you work with. And above all, and this applies to each of you, be fierce in everything you do. You are our best hope for the next generation. I wish you more than luck. Thank you.